Welcome back, Rezzers, to part 2 of the RE Showcase Deep Dive Analysis. Last time we looked in depth at the new Resident Evil Village trailer shown during the RE Showcase. If you haven't seen my analysis of the trailer yet, go have a look at part 1. Next we're going to be looking at the Resident Evil Village gameplay trailer, and into some more of the finer details about the merchant character, some more hidden references, an analysis of the gameplay and different editions of the game available, along with a quick look at the Maiden Demo. Before we continue, please do subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to stay notified of new Resident Evil content. On top of the new trailer, Capcom treated us to some gameplay footage from Resident Evil Village, commentated by producer Pete Fabiano. First we got a quick reminder of the range of platforms that we would be getting the game on, which included the current console generation of the PS4 and the Xbox One getting a look in. But you can also upgrade the game to the next gen through the digital download for the PS5 or for the Xbox Series X. We then got different versions of the game we could buy. First kicking off with the Digital Deluxe Edition, aptly named the Trauma Pack. First we see a save room music add-on which is showing a typewriter inside the Dimitrescu castle, showing us that typewriters are making their return for the first time since Resident Evil 4. The save music used will be the same as the one used in Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. We can also see another shot from the game with the caption of Max Difficulty. We can see multiple werewolf-like creatures carrying weapons all pursuing Ethan around the village which is on fire, and what looks like an explosion coming from a house and some trees in the background. This looks like our introduction to a version of the Inferno difficulty from Resident Evil 3 or Madhouse difficulty from Resident Evil 7. We can only hope it's going to be an extreme challenge for those that are brave enough to take on max difficulty. It also looks like we will be getting 3 items returning from Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, namely the Mr. Everywhere statue, which could potentially work like the glasses from Resident Evil 7 to spot hidden items, or more likely to show us what hidden collectibles are available in Village. Next we have the tape recorder save device, which likely will be an optional skin swap for the typewriters in Village, but it may also serve another unknown purpose. Also we see the Albert 01 Custom Samurai Edge handgun, making a return from Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Strangely, it also mentions Chris, which means this gun is likely the one to be used by Chris in Village, and can now be available for Ethan to use in his campaign. No doubt it'll be a limited shot high-powered weapon like its original incarnation, unless it has gone through a change and can rapid fire like the one Chris used in the first Village trailer. We also have a colour filter to match the gameplay from Resident Evil 7 as a cosmetic addition to the Trauma Pack. Finally, we have the Tragedy of Ethan Winters, which appears to be an art book covering not only Village, but also Resident Evil 7 as a compilation. Maybe we will get the chance to see some new unseen art from Resident Evil 7 and a couple of unused concepts from Village as well. Next we move on to a look at the Collector's Edition items, which are exclusive to console only. First we have the poster showing the layout of the map that we will be exploring in Resident Evil Village, covering the village, a castle, a reservoir, a factory, and possibly some kind of old manor. It looks like this world is going to be much bigger than anticipated. A Trauma Pack code is included as well, so the Trauma Pack items can be included with the Collector's Edition. Also, a steelbook case for the game is included with the mysterious 4-winged symbol, along with a themed box covered in labels which are not too clear but could be references to sites across the village. We also have a new art book which appears to focus on concept art purely from Village. And finally, the Village version of Chris Redfield in statue form, which will be great with any Resident Evil collection. Next we get a look at the pre-order bonus, which only consists of 2 items. Firstly, a Mr. Raccoon weapon charm, which will be used to mod weapons possibly as a skin change for a weapon, or possibly even increase a rate of fire or weapon power. Lastly, we have the Survival Resource Pack, which appears to just give players extra ammo, healing items and lockpicks, just to make your first playthrough a little easier. There is also a PlayStation Digital exclusive of the Village soundtrack thrown in as well. And now we move on to the biggest takeaway from this showcase, which is the gameplay footage. We start with Ethan walking through a graveyard and come across the Warrior Woman statue from the earlier trailers, with the goat on her shield. Most likely part of a larger puzzle to reach the castle. We see again this goat, which will be a recurring creature throughout the game. The woman doesn't appear to be referenced to any mythical warrior figure from Romanian culture or any other that I can come across, but it does bear a passing resemblance to the Greek god of wisdom, Athena, with the helm she is wearing being similar, and bearing a shield which has the head of a creature in the centre of it. In this case it is a goat, but on most statues and depictions of Athena she has the head of a Gorgon, possibly Medusa, on her shield, in reference to the legend of Perseus. Continuing through the graveyard lined with tombstones and monoliths, we see a single wooden hut on the right lit with candles, and bearing some kind of sign beneath the opening which is lined with curtains. This could possibly be a fortune-telling hut, but it's way more likely this could just be a location for item storage boxes or even a save point of some kind. But we don't get a better look at this to confirm. Up ahead we see an ornate gate with 2 lit torches either side of the obstacle. We have seen this gate before in a previous trailer for Village depicting the warrior woman from the statue and a demonic figure possibly devouring a victim, with the woman holding the shield showing the large goat's head again. This demon could be a depiction of the devil in the lowest circle of hell, treachery, devouring Judas as per the description by Dante in the Divine Comedy. But who the warrior is supposed to be is unknown. More likely this is just a mythical depiction deliberately made for the game. Both the face of the demon and the warrior are missing, meaning this gate will only open when they are placed incorrectly. Strangely though, this isn't the first time we have seen good and evil used as part of a puzzle. The balancing scales used in Resident Evil 0 used an angel and a demon figure to balance good and evil and open the way to the basement. Next we have a montage of Ethan going around the castle and making his way to the front doors. Upon opening them, we are welcomed with a beautiful and dimly lit candle-lit entrance. In the distance we can see a painting of 3 maidens on the wall. The 3 maidens are most likely the 3 daughters of Lady Dimitrescu. Next up we come to the most gorgeous central stairwell and hallway with the iconic central chandelier dominating our view. The black and white tilework adorning the floor with a compass shape in the centre, and what looks like a circle in each compass direction. The room is well lit with the chandelier and the fireplace providing the most light and candles providing ambient light. As we go up through the stairs we get a much closer look at the central chandelier and see it is covered in hundreds of candles that have given the room its ethereal glow. I have to say this is one of the most beautiful rooms I have seen in a Resident Evil game so far. As we transition to the next shot we see white and gold ordained walls and very beautiful carpets covering the floors. The 3D environment team deserve a huge amount of praise and credit for creating such a unique and visually stunning environment for us to explore. But as we round the corner, you may spot what could be a map of the castle, showing it set potentially across 3 floors. This place could be as large as the main house from the Baker estate, maybe even larger than that. Next we end up in what appears to be Lady Dimitrescu's bedroom, which we have seen from several angles in every trailer. We can even see a load of scattered notes or letters strewn across the floor, coated in a puddle of blood. This could potentially be some kind of struggle which happened recently. We finally get a bit more focus on the soft furnishings around the room as well. But then we fade into a large central hallway and are surrounded by stinging insects, which all form into the 3 daughters of Lady Dimitrescu. The blonde maiden is wielding a steel sickle and pushes Ethan over before impaling his leg and dragging him across the floor to an adjoining room. Looking back at the beginning of this moment, we see an inscription on the door briefly, but it is unreadable at this point. We then get to see the 3rd maiden draw a sickle, which was considered a budget weapon along with other farming tools if you couldn't afford a sword, pike or even a gun in later centuries. As the maiden impales Ethan's leg, we get a closer look at her face and can see some kind of symbol tattooed on her forehead. The bottom appears to be a bird talon, which then branches into a supporting structure around a sphere at the top. I haven't been able to find any real-world references so far, at least to anything similar in Wiccan, pagan or Romanian cultures. It's possible it's an original piece of art, but I am stumped as to what it should represent. We also see the maiden has a choker around her neck with a red jewel embedded in it, which bears a striking resemblance to the one worn by Lexi Ashford from Code Veronica. Also, the maiden bears a flower symbol next to each arm, which is the Dimitrescu family crest, minus the 2 crossed swords. Speaking of swords, on a chain around her neck, the maiden bears 5 symbols of various weapons. 4 of them appear to be swords, but the one in the middle appears to be just a mace head, or a form of Sovereign's orb. One last thing before we move on to the next scene. The blonde maiden who attacks Ethan speaks for the first time, and says the phrase, man mud. What this phrase is supposed to mean, I'm not sure. It could just be an insult, but this probably has little meaning for now. After Ethan is dragged away, we meet Lady Dimitrescu with her daughters inside her bedchambers. As she gets up from her chair, we see she places down some kind of goblet on the table in front of her after drinking from it. Either she is drinking something to sustain her 9'6" frame, or it is purely just an indulgence of wine. But shortly after she gets up, she mentions her little brother. This could be as yet an unseen character, but if her comment about his little games is anything to go by, we could be looking at a character like Lucas Baker who would play sadistic death trap games with his victims. Now we are in what appears to be a dungeon or basement of the castle, with dimly lit stone surfaces illuminated by candles, and ominous bags suspended from the ceiling, almost like hatched cocoons left by its inhabitants. As we round the corner, we can hear metal scraping against the ground, and in the distance a gaunt figure is lurching towards us. After shooting them, they drop a sword and the figure lunges at Ethan, who blocks the attack, then kicks the creature away in a swift counter, which means finally we're going to get a form of counter-attack which wasn't available in Resident Evil 7. We then cut to a shot of Ethan using a shotgun. We also see one of the ghouls carrying an axe as well. We then cut to an exterior shot of a pack of wolfmen hunting Ethan, and a much larger, ogre-like creature slowly stalking us with a giant warhammer in hand, with flaming arrows raining down around us and the ogre slamming the ground with his hammer, until Ethan aims and shoots at a red explosive barrel nearby. We cut away from the action to see the return of the attaché case from Resident Evil 4, giving us the ever so fun and OCD pastime of organising our inventory in whatever way we see fit. The standard items here are the knife, ammo, handgun, shotgun and first aid meds from Resident Evil 7. The health meter appears to have had a makeover with a more simple gradient coloured bar instead of a heart rate monitor for the first time. And in the top right corner we see the return of a form of currency used to buy weapons and supplies, now in the form of Romanian lei. The case is divided into 4 sections, with section 1 being for general item storage, section 2 for crafting, where we see herbs and then chem fluids being used. There is also iconography for what looks like coins and mechanical parts as well, most likely used for gaining currency or for upgrading weapons. We don't see what the last 2 sections are, but they are likely for the lore and info documents found throughout the game, along with a map section. Next we see a sniper rifle being organised into the case retrieved by Ethan. It looks like they are mostly using real-world weapon names, since the F2 rifle is a French military standard rifle that has been in use since 1986 and has a maximum firing range of 800 metres or 874.9 yards. One last thing you'll notice, each of the weapons has a nut symbol in the bottom left corner, except for the knife, most likely meaning these are used to indicate what add-ons have been attached to your weapons, like the Mr. Everywhere or Mr. Raccoon DLC, or maybe a laser sight or a stock for your handgun. We have now reached a small wooden mobile caravan and get our first real look at the village's version of the merchant from Resident Evil 4. This morbidly obese man is known as the Duke, who rolls his way forward to open his doors. His caravan appears to be lined with exotic foods like garlic, fish and some form of Romanian misi. His caravan appears to be a mobile delicatessen, with some tools lining the doors from weapons modding as well. This is further proven with the design of the Duke's Emporium menu, with the phrase connoisseur of exotic food and drink on each of the menu options. Also we get a subtle nod to the merchant from Resident Evil 4 with the words, "No one's a stranger to the Emporium," a play on words from the merchant constantly calling us stranger. We also see the words, "Information on anyone, anywhere, anytime," in each menu option as well, possibly hinting that the Duke is an equivalent of the local gossip and rumour man, who would give information for a price. We look through the Duke's available items, which include the option to expand your item slots through the use of the extra baggage, and you can learn to craft types of ammo for a price on top of buying ammo outright, along with a variety of weapons from pistols and machine guns to a single-action army revolver. There also appears to be some kind of exotic melee weapon or a tool to climb sheer surfaces, like the axe that Lara Croft would use in the recent Tomb Raider reboots. We get another look at weapons in the gunsmithy section of the Duke's menu. We see what has been dubbed the Lemmy, which is a made-up name for the CZ-2075 Rami pistol, which originated from the Czech Republic. This one has been fitted with some kind of tape on the handle, either as a makeshift field repair or some kind of mod, maybe to improve grip perhaps. We also get a closer look at the shotgun, which appears to be the American-made Remington M1897 with decorative engraving. It even has the option to attach a bayonet to the underneath of the barrel. Strangely, in World War I there was a protest against its use in combat after the German government claimed the weapon was prohibited by the law of war due to the 1907 Hague Convention on Land Warfare. This protest was rejected, and the Remington has been one of the most popular shotguns in the world and been one of the most featured weapons in all of Resident Evil, right from its humble beginnings in 1996. If we look around the Duke, we can see there's a lot of garlic everywhere, and no doubt this is part of his superstition to ward off vampires, in the case of the Dimitrescu family. In the top left corner of the Emporium we can see a sheep's head, but also a deer's head, which has been a repeated feature throughout Resident Evil, appearing as part of puzzles in the first Resident Evil and then going on to make other appearances in subsequent games. This is most likely a little subtle nod to the first game. The Duke also has some classical art pieces adorning his right wall, most likely reused art pieces from Resident Evil 2 Remake. We now jump back into the interior of the Dimitrescu castle. We now see Ethan wielding the knife to destroy a variety of objects to gain useful items in his quest to get his daughter back. Items like the gunpowder and the ever-present herbs. Then we are suddenly wading through a pool of blood, walking past barrels and a torture chair. When we turn, we see a miniature goat statue. It looks like these are going to be the new Mr. Everywhere and Mr. Raccoon statues to find for unlockable content. We return to the main hallway where we first encountered the daughters, with the door with the inscription on it in the distance. And 4 winged angel statues, each with their heads missing, all with indentations in numbering 1 to 4, which prevents the heads possibly from being placed in the wrong spots, much like the death masks we used in the Resident Evil remake. The angels could be a female perversion of the archangels Michael, Raphael, Gabriel and Uriel, made in the image of the Dimitrescu family. More than likely though, it is probably just 4 generic female angels that we're looking at. We continue to go through other puzzles and death traps before we end up in a corridor being swarmed by stinging insects which start to burst through Ethan's hand and bore their way through his skin, much like the scarab beetles from the 1999 movie The Mummy, before finishing by being stalked and caught by one of the daughters. To finish off part 2, we're going to have a brief look at the Maiden Demo that was announced as a time-sensitive exclusive to the PS5, with more versions of the demo going to be released on other platforms in the spring. We will have a proper look at the demo in depth in a separate video later, but for now let's just see what we can get from just this trailer. It looks like this demo is going to behave similar to the beginning hour demo we had from Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Maybe like the beginning hour demo we will have hidden objectives to solve, or different endings depending upon your actions and the items used. Maybe progress completed in the demo could carry over to the main game, much like the dirty coin reward you got in the beginning hour demo. So far we seem to be getting a showcase of the environments and some of the more horrific furnishings in the dungeons, the most notable being a form of infamous torture rack lined with 4 spiked rollers, which was a common torture device in the Middle Ages and has many different forms over the centuries. Strangely, there is a mixture of medieval and modern equipment here, with the whiteboard and the medical equipment dotted around as well, even what appears to be a drug vial and a syringe on the far corner of the table. Whatever was in that drug vial, it could have been used to mutate victims into the many monstrosities we will face in Village, or it could have been used to help alleviate the pain of the victims so they could make the torture last longer, like a sedative or steroid or some kind of pain relief. We next see an extravagant set of furniture and dining equipment in the cellar as well, with stacks of cardboard boxes and what looks like some reused landscape art from the Resident Evil 2 remake again, before we get a brief flashes of the daughters attacking us again, and the Maiden apparently succumbing to some unknown effect that has changed her vision to a red view, and blacking out as the daughter attacks us one final time. The fate of the Maiden is left unknown, except to those who will get the chance to live out the demo in full for now. Thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed part 2 of this Resident Evil showcase analysis. Please do like this video and leave a comment with your thoughts on the showcase below. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to stay notified of new videos uploaded to the channel. Thank you again everyone, and I'll see you all in part 3.